What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another All Things Liverpool show with me, Anish Dogra. Um, Games are coming thick and fast, aren't they? I feel like we still haven't recovered from last week's match against Manchester City. That game was the quality of the match and how exciting it was. But lo and behold, this is the season we're in. Obviously, a very condensed campaign with so many matches that have already been played. It's ridiculous to think that we've already played, I think, 11 or 12 matches. And still a few more to come before we have that World Cup break in a couple of weeks. But it's been a great week, arguably the biggest and best week we've had this season, with 3 wins now on the bounce in all competitions. Obviously, starting with that big win against Rangers and then City last Sunday. And then West Ham on Wednesday night, which we'll, of course, talk about in great detail. I talk about some players who did very well in that match, and some who, were a little bit under the radar. But lo and behold, that's what we'll be talking about in the next half an hour, 40 minutes or so. So West Ham on Wednesday, Forest tomorrow afternoon, which will be a trickier match than I think most people are expecting. And of course, predicting what could happen this weekend in the other games with our rivals. Quite a few decent matches. In fact, Spurs are playing Newcastle on Sunday, Chelsea United tomorrow evening, which should be a very, very exciting game. And of course, whoever else is in action. So let's get right into it. And overall, I think on Wednesday, another good win. Of course, it was slightly fortunate with the fact that they did have the penalty, and it was a definite penalty. I think there was no real decision to make. In fact, I think the only thing that you should be complaining about, and myself included, it was that it didn't really need VAR to be given. Anyone on the naked eye could see that Gomez gets nowhere near the ball. He puts his body onto Jared Bowen's and gives it away. But they got the right decision in the end, and obviously they missed it, which was very fortunate for us, but also brilliant from Alisson. I think for a long time, for a while, he couldn't save a penalty at all for Liverpool. Pretty much every single one went the other direction. So he's clearly been doing his homework. He's definitely improved on his game, and it's now an unbelievable shot stopper. I think that's now 2 penalties he saved this season. The other one being against Napoli back in the Champions League when we lost 4-1, the second penalty in that game. And of course, last season as well in the FA Cup final, saving 2 penalties in the shootout. So really good from him. A great stop. And obviously, in this day and age with VAR, it's so much tougher for a goalkeeper to make a penalty save, because I was watching a video yesterday just on YouTube about some of the greatest penalty saves Liverpool keepers have produced in history. Going back to the days of Grobbelaar and Clements, Reina, even Mignolet, who was actually a very good penalty shot stopper. But back in those days, the keepers could literally fly off their lines, come 5 yards out of their goal, and make the angle so much more bigger for them and a lot smaller for the shooter. But nowadays, obviously, goalkeepers have to keep a foot on their line and pretty much stay on their goal until the very, very last second. So a wonderful save. I think Bowen slightly helped him in the fact that you could tell what his body language was, angling to show that he's going to shoot in that left corner. Alisson's right, and for Alisson, if he doesn't second guess, or if he doesn't play mind games, if he just takes it in black and white, then he would just know to go to that side. And as long as he goes the right way, he's got a more than good chance of saving it. So a very good save, one that was obviously crucial, and one that I think was deserved at the time, because in the first half, I thought we were very, very impressive. Of course, against Man City, it was a real slug, and it was a real battle, for possession, for quality, for creating chances, for keeping them out, and it was a real end-to-end game against City. But I felt against West Ham we had complete control of the match up until that penalty save, and in the second half. But for that first 40 minutes, I thought we were excellent, kept the ball really well. 2-3 players around every time West Ham lost game possession rather, and their player had the ball. Defensively reassured, Gomez and Van Dijk were good. Tsimikas, our left back, who are predicted to start that game because of how intense the match was against City on Sunday, and Robertson coming back from injury. So Tsimikas coming in, fantastic, a really good display from him, and nothing that we are too surprised with now. Obviously, when the day that Robertson does go, and isn't our first choice left back. We've got a brilliant replacement right there with Simicast, who is several years younger than him. A great performance from him. In midfield, Thiago was absolutely running the show. Jordan Henderson, again, really impressed with him. In fact, I think other than Alisson and Nunes, I thought he was actually probably our best player on the pitch. The way he controlled the possession, won a lot of tackles, his distribution was really good, and those runs into the penalty area, something that we saw a lot back in 2019 and 2018, when Henderson was a lot younger, making those runs into the box, surging runs that would often lead to a goal, lead to a chance, and his delivery was also very good. I think there was one in the second half where Firmino was in a great position and picked out by Henderson, and it would have been 2-0 had I think Zuma blocked it in the end. So a lot of good displays, and I think the one we should talk about the most is, of course, Darwin Núñez. Someone I'm really happy that he's showing why we spent the money. 64 million pounds. Of course, probably rising to 85 million after the add-ons are included. And a big price tag, a lot of money, young guy, and given he's relatively inexperienced, he's only played top flight football in 2 leagues with Almeria in La Liga and of course Benfica in the Portuguese league where we signed him from, but he's showing signs that he's adapting his game. His first touch is becoming a lot better. His finishing ability is becoming greater, and the biggest and the most impressive thing was his work off the ball, and I think that's what amazed me the most. Like, that's our number 9, and he's tracking back 60-70 yards from the top of the pitch to his own penalty area, 10 yards away from his penalty area, and putting pressure on the opposition, trying to win the ball back. Granted, he's not going to win the ball back quite often, but you wouldn't expect him to because he is a striker. But the fact that he was there making those runs, putting his body on the line for the team was so fantastic. And I think it also helped him because of how brilliant the crowd was every time he did something good, whether it was running in behind in the opposition defense, or getting a shot on goal, or putting pressure on their defense. The chance of Núñez every single time he did something was fantastic. Great from the cop and everyone else around the ground, and he clearly fed off that. It gave him that extra confidence that he needed, and it's not really a surprise to see him now getting those goals and getting that end product. We saw in that 2-0 win against Rangers what he could do, what his glimpses were. He was unbelievable in running the channels, going left, going right, going down the middle. First touch was pretty damn good, and then the only thing that was missing on that night was a finish. Sometimes I think we should be fair to say that some of his shots weren't as threatening as they should have been, but on the other hand, I think McGregor was also fantastic that night. And again, though, against Arsenal, got his chance again, made the most of it, was brilliant in that first half, ran the channels, got his goal, a proper striker's goal, being in the penalty area, in the center of the net, and putting it away. And then again against Rangers, a brilliant finish for his goal. Didn't even need to take a touch, just had to guide it into that corner, and showing why he is a quality striker, and why I think he will be one of the very best in years to come. And even against Man City, although he should have done better when he came on with the opportunities he had, I think we all remember the one where he was on the left and Salah was on the right. It was so obvious for him to pass here, just literally play it across goal, and Salah's in for 2-0. But he's a striker, he's greedy. You got to understand that. And of course, later down the line, he will learn to pass, and see what is a better opportunity, whether it's to shoot or whether it's to pass, and he will learn that eventually. But again, when he came on against City, what a handful. He had a good shot when he just came on, which went a couple of yards wide, and did everything that we have seen from him, running the channels and being a menace to that opposition back line. And he did that perfectly against West Ham on Wednesday night. Great header for his goal. Guided it absolutely perfectly, and it's one of those where it's very easy to get wrong. You could get too much on a header and put it straight at the keeper. Too much power where it's going where it might just end up going over the bar. But he got the perfect amount. It was a wonderful cross from Simicast, and when the ball is that good for a striker, you don't need to think much. And I think that's kind of been a bit of a criticism with Núñez, where he's trying to force something, trying to overthink it, and that often leads to not a goal. But on that occasion, he just knew what to do. He just had to simply guide the ball, put it where the ball is already going to, into that corner, and that's exactly what he did. So wonderful execution for the header. Took it very, very well. Great leap as well, which was brilliant. And arguably on another day could have got a hat trick. Just before he got that goal, there was a brilliant volley, left foot volley he took first time, which is firstly the pass from Thiago was mesmeric and nothing that's too surprising really, but the shot was outstanding. On his so-called weaker foot as well, traditionally he is right-footed, but a brilliant effort, and Fabianski has to pull out a very, very good save to stop that from dipping into the net. Also with the volley, again, outstanding, a handful for the opposition back line, occupying them, being a nuisance. And on another day, that volley goes into the back of the net rather than hits the post. So really great from him, a really, really encouraging performance, and one that I think will take a lot from him, and one that will give him more confidence for the upcoming matches. But of course, we got to hope that after Klopp's comments today, and what he said also on Wednesday night, that he had to be taken off as a slight precaution. I think slight is probably, you could probably over exaggerate that word even more, because when he came off 10 minutes after the second half. He didn't look like there was any problem with him. He was jogging off the pitch as normal. Wasn't slower in his build-up play or in the way he was attacking in that second half, and could have probably played the whole match. But then when you heard Klopp's comments at full time that he made so many sprints, and in fact there was a stat that was just released the other day that Núñez has now recorded the quickest speed this season in a match. I think it was like 38 kilometers per hour, which is quite insane to produce that. So when you see how Núñez is and how much energy he puts out onto that pitch, like we saw when he tracked back to help out the defense, it wasn't a surprise to see Núñez be taken off, because, like the season we are in and how many muscular injuries we've already had this season, you don't want to lose another one. So a wise decision from Klopp and the team to take him off just after half-time, and hopefully he'll be fine for tomorrow. But even then, we have to hope and pray that he's absolutely recovered and he's fully fit. Even if he is a slight doubt, I don't think it's a risk worth taking, because there's still plenty of more matches to go before the World Cup happens, and you don't want him injured when the World Cup goes ahead, because then he'll miss it, which would be a big blow for Uruguay, and for us as well. He'll be out for even longer. So hopefully he'll be fine for tomorrow. He'll be 100%. If he is, then I fully expect him to start against Nottingham Forest. If he isn't, I think there's still just about enough. I mean, we're quite thin now on strikers. Before there were no midfielders in the team, but now we've got quite a few back. Curtis Jones, it was great to see him back in the team on Wednesday night. Got about 20 minutes, half an hour, which is lovely to see. I thought he did okay as well in terms of his tracking and his work off the ball. A little bit rusty when he was given an opportunity to do something, but you have to expect that when he's been out for quite a while. Navigator's back in full training. Oxlade-Chamberlain has been in full training now for a couple of days. So whilst we don't have many attackers available now, I think it's only Firmino, Salah, Fabio Carvalho and Harvey Elliott, and then potentially Núñez. So we're quite scarce up there, but at least now we've got some midfield options available. And hopefully, they'll make an impact for however long they're available, which, knowing Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita's injury won't be that long. So a great win against West Ham on Wednesday night. And obviously in the second period of play, I thought we kind of looked off the pace, and again, you can understand why, given how exhausting Sunday was and how much effort we had to put in. And West Ham, like I said in the last show when we were previewing this game, they aren't a bad team. They got quality there. Scamacca, who I talked about, I think on another day should have got at least a goal, maybe even two. Antonio, when he came on, was a handful. Bowen, of course, has a lot of quality there, and I think more over and of all the players that were on the pitch on that night, Declan Rice was absolutely unbelievable, and you can see why there are rumours linking us to him, and why Liverpool would like to bring him in, because he is everything that Jordan Henderson was 4 or 5 years ago. That energy, that quality on and off the ball, box to box. He's just the complete midfielder. And honestly, if we had like an option to sign, let's say, Declan Rice and Nicola Barella over Jude Bellingham. I'd actually pick that over just bringing in Bellingham, because they have it all. And Rice was fantastic. Was given a man in the match as well, which I think was a very fair thing for Ali McCoy to do. And there's no surprise why West Ham always wanted 120 million for him, because there is a lot of quality. And hopefully now that he's got less than 2 years left in his contract, we can try and bring him in for a lesser price. And even then, West Ham in the second half, they had chances to play, they had chances to score. And right at the end, James Milner, once again, proving why he is still part of the squad, still why he is so relied upon by Jurgen Klopp. That last-ditch tackle right at the end of the game, it saves us the 3 points. It keeps the mood going, keeps us in good spirits, and another three big points. So good win. Obviously puts us up the table now. I think we're in 7th, which is obviously a lot healthier. Back-to-back wins, which is the first time in the league that we've done so since late August. And hopefully we'll take that into Nottingham Forest tomorrow, which, again, I'm expecting, changes, but I don't know how many we can possibly make, given, like I just said, the injuries we got up front and the fact that players are still coming back. But I think it will be an interesting match tomorrow, purely because, 2-3 reasons. I think Forest have turned a bit of a corner in the last couple of weeks. Got a draw against Aston Villa last week. And speaking of Aston Villa, obviously we've got a little bit of history with them, and in particular the man who was their manager, Steven Gerrard. Really sad to see that he's now gone. It was always going to be a tough task. This was like the biggest job you can possibly take in Premier League football, bar managing any one of the top 6 clubs, because of who Aston Villa are, the size of that club, the fan base, the history. Winning European Cups automatically puts you into that bracket of being a huge club. Granted, not a great team, but the stature of who they are and what they've done will always mean it's a tough ask. And he was backed. He was backed in January, backed in the summer. So I think it was the right decision from the club to alleviate Gerrard off his role. And normally I'm the last, but I usually try to blame the players rather than the manager, because ordinarily I would say that the players are the ones who are downing tools, don't want to run for the manager, don't want to play for the manager. But you can see the other players were trying, but it just wasn't working. So on this occasion, it was a right call from Villa to let Gerrard go. Disappointing for him. Obviously, it's a bit of a setback, but I still no doubt he'll want to prove people wrong. He'll still want to be Liverpool manager one day. And I think, we learn more from failure than we do from success. And Gerrard will learn from this experience. He'll learn what he may have done wrong, some of the things he might have said in the press. Situations he might have handled a bit better, like the Tyrone Mings captaincy situation. Maybe he might be thinking, I should have handled that differently. And hopefully he'll learn from it. He'll become better. He'll get another job quite soon. And he'll still be on that path to becoming Liverpool manager in the next 5 to 10 years. And hopefully he'll prove that case. But yeah, back to the main point. Speaking of Nottingham Forest, so yeah, a good draw against Villa. Another good draw on Tuesday night. They're looking a lot more organised, a lot more robust and tougher to beat. And when you're down there at the bottom of the table, that's where you got to be. You're not going to beat teams by being expansive, by playing open football. Very, very few teams in Premier League history who have come up and played like that have survived and stayed in the Premier League for a long time. I know there's been like odd occasions where teams have done that in the first season, but then they burn out in the next campaign. So Forest, by being difficult to beat, by being organised or giving themselves a fighting chance, and although they were, I think, slightly fortunate against Brighton on Tuesday night, Trossard hit the bar, I think, on one occasion, and Henderson made a string of a lot of saves. Keeping a clean sheet will always bring confidence, and Henderson is a decent keeper. Has been a good keeper for quite a while now. Obviously, didn't do quite well when he returned to Manchester United after his loan from Sheffield United, but when he was there, he was fantastic. There were obviously calls at the time for him to be England #1. I think he's obviously quite away from being in that position now, but there is quality there, and form is temporary, class is permanent, as the old saying goes. So I'm expecting a tougher match from Forest. I expect them to go with that back 5. Nico Williams, who I think is fit, will obviously want to prove Jurgen Klopp and his teammates wrong. That he could have made the cut at Liverpool, and I always had no doubts that he was good going forward. His crossing ability was very, very good. His pace, his eye for goal, but obviously what let him down was the fact that he couldn't really defend very well, but he'll want to prove that. And coming up on that right wing, where he'll probably go up against probably for Harvey Elliott or Fabio Carvalho, will be a decent test for him, and one that he'll hope to succeed. But again, from our point of view, it's simply about just being professional. Of course, it's a difficult match because of the fact it is a half 12 kickoff. Ordinarily we've never done well at half 12 kickoffs. I personally don't like them because it means I have to wake up extra early, and atmospheres don't tend to be so great in those kind of matches. But given the history of this match, obviously when the Premier League first began, this match back in 1992 was the first televised game. So great history behind it. On that day, we lost 1-0, and that began our banter era in 1992. I think Teddy Sheringham was the one who got the winner on that occasion. And Forest will obviously hold that quite dear to their hearts. So it's going to be a good game for them. I think I do expect the City ground to be absolutely rocking. And even when we played there last season, I just remember now in the FA Cup, they gave us a very, very good go. Granted, it was a different Forest team on that occasion because obviously they made a lot of transfers this summer, and the team that was there on that occasion were mainly made up of loan players who are now obviously gone to different clubs or returned to their original parent club. But they will try to draw upon that, and the players who were there on that occasion and potentially might play tomorrow will want to try and replicate that performance. And if they do that, then they'll have more than a chance of getting a result against us. And obviously, as the Premier League is and how crazy it is, you wouldn't write off Forest beating us. But again, it's just all about us. It's like I've been saying for pretty much every match this season when we've come up against the likes of Fulham, Palace, Everton. I'm going to include Manchester United in that list because I know United have turned the corner, but on that occasion when we lost to them, they weren't in a great place. They were still there to be beaten, and they weren't a particularly good team. And the reason why we lost that match and drew the others was because of our state of mind, was because we went there with an arrogance, thinking that we could just turn up, put in a 6 or 7 out of 10 performance, and that would be enough to win the match. Ordinarily, if you're playing in an FA Cup match against a lower league opposition, you could do that and you can get away with it and win. Or if you're coming up against a team who are really down low and are in really poor form, let's say if we were playing, I don't know, an Aston Villa right now or a Southampton, you could say, yeah, you don't really have to turn up, and you will probably win the match just about. But Forest will be up for it. They've got some decent results. They've got a bit of wind in their sail, and they will be definitely be up for it. So for us, it's about being to the very best we can be, being professional, being organized, difficult to beat, and if we do that, we should win the match quite comfortably. Obviously, in terms of the lineups, I think there will have to be some changes again, purely because the amount of matches we played in the last 3 days. It's three matches we played in 6 days, which is absolutely ridiculous. And it's no wonder why we've had muscle problems here and there and little niggles here and there. So hopefully tomorrow a lot of them will be cleared up. And in terms of the team, obviously in goal will be no question at all. Addison will be there. I think in the back four, again, I don't think there's much you can do right now because there's no centre backs available. Only Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, had Konate or John Matip been fit, then I would have probably put Gomez at right back and taken Trent out, given him a rest. But obviously, lo and behold, it will be Trent at right back, Gomez and Van Dijk, and I do expect Robertson to return to this match. I think it was always going to be a case of rotation of him and Tsimikas from the 2 matches, who was going to play who. So Tsimikas played Wednesday night, did very well, and has done nothing wrong to not be in the team. But again, it's just about rotation, keeping everyone as fit as possible, as fresh as possible. And for me, Robertson will come back into this game. In midfield, it was Henderson and Thiago on Wednesday night, and I think on this occasion, I think it'll be Fabinho and Henderson. Again, like Thiago, you got to more so him than anyone else in the Liverpool team. You got to wrap him in cotton wool, given how injury prone he is, and because of how physical Forest will be. I think this is a game where you need more robustness in that midfield, engine room, and Henderson and Fabinho will provide that. Hopefully, Fabinho can replicate that performance against City, because when he came on against West Ham on Wednesday night, I didn't think he was particularly good. Again, I'll forgive him because of how good he was against City on Sunday, but he looked a bit tired, a bit off the pace, lacking that half a yard needed. So hopefully he will now be rested enough. Came on against West Ham, got about half an hour, and hopefully that will be enough for him to be fully recharged for tomorrow. And then in terms of the front four, again, this is all very circumstantial. It depends if Darwin Núñez is fit. If he is, then I think you pretty much go with the same front four that played on Wednesday night. But I think Elliot would come in this time. And in fact, I think if Elliot were to come in, you would probably see a different alteration in terms of positioning of that front four. So on Wednesday, it was Carvalho on the left, Firmino on the 10, Núñez up top, and Salah on the right. However, I think if Elliot were to come in tomorrow, and I do expect him to do so, I think you'll see him on the right. I think if Núñez is fit, you'll see him on the left. Firmino, I think, is given now in that number 10 role until Diogo Jota comes back or Diaz comes back, and then we can play Elliot or Carvalho in the 10 position. And then I think we'll see Salah up top tomorrow. And I think it's something that's needed, I feel, because, again, like in the last 2 matches, we saw Salah play against City when Núñez wasn't on the pitch and given a more central role, a position that he's used to, and he has done so very, very well. And we saw the very best of Salah on Sunday, being physical against that back line, running in behind, doing what he does so well. But then on Wednesday, when you saw him back on that right channel with Núñez up top, you can see the difference in style. He was a lot more secluded, wasn't really involved so much in the final moments of play. Don't get me wrong, he was still involved. He was still getting touches on the ball, still attacking that right channel, but he wasn't closer to goal like he normally is. And again, that's because of Núñez. And I think Klopp actually talked about that in his press conference today, about trying to get Salah and Núñez in the same system, in the same team, and have them as effective as the other. Because obviously right now, if you have Núñez playing, that means Salah isn't as great. And if Núñez doesn't play, you're not playing your £65 million striker, but Salah will do you a very good job and will probably win you the match. So I wouldn't say it's a problem right now, but it's a situation that Klopp and Pep Lijnders and obviously all the coaching staff at the club need to try and figure out, and obviously figure out very soon, because you got your most expensive player at the club and your star signing, and then your highest earner at the club as well, both in the same team. But I think it's more of an exciting problem to have than a worrying one, because they are two wonderful players, two players who will win you matches and score you goals. And I think because of how brilliant our backroom staff is and how brilliant Klopp is, it'll just be a matter of when and not if Salah and Núñez are both firing whilst they are both together on the pitch. So for me, I think that'll be the front four. It'll be Salah up top, Elliot on the right, Firmino on the 10, and Núñez making that inward left run. If Núñez isn't fit, then I expect Carvalho to keep his place in the team, and it'll be Salah up top with Elliot on the right and Firmino in the hole. Sadly, of course, we can't make too many options in terms of attacking personnel. But luckily, like I alluded to earlier, we do have midfield availability. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain was back on the bench on Wednesday. In fact, it wouldn't even surprise me if he was given a start. I think Klopp again talked about him briefly. He's now trained for about 4 or 5 days with the first team, so getting better. And he's obviously posted a couple of clips on his socials, shooting on sight and getting a goal, which is pleasing to see. So for now, right now, it's not about Ox getting more minutes on the training pitch. It's just now getting him in the first team. I don't expect him to start tomorrow, but again, if he were to, I wouldn't mind it at all. And if he's motivated enough, he could still think there is an outside chance of making that World Cup squad. We all know how Gareth Southgate is with picking his favourites. And although Oxford has never really had a big chance to showcase what he can do, he has been in England squads in the past, and he does know a lot of the players, does know the setup quite well, has got World Cup experience, and hopefully for his sake, he can show what he can do and maybe make that preliminary squad at the very least. So hopefully it'll be a good result tomorrow. Another win, a third win on the bounce, which is something we've not done since May in the Premier League. And if we were to win tomorrow, at least for the time being, just looking at the Premier League table quickly, It would put us to 19 points, which would be great. It would also put us fifth in the table, level on points with Manchester United on goal difference. We'd have a plus 11, and they would have they would still be on 0. And also, more importantly, not just about moving up the table, it would be the fact that we win away from home, which is something Jurgen Klopp alluded to after our Rangers win. It was our first away win in all comps of the season, which is ridiculous to think that we are in October and it's taken that long. And obviously in the Premier League, it'll be the first time since May that we've won away from home. I think the last time it was Southampton away, that 2-1 win a couple of days before the last match of the season. So really important to end that hoodoo, to break that streak and get ourselves a much-needed away win. And of course, with these half-12 kickoffs, they are a massive risk because of the fact they are early and we don't tend to play well. But more than that, it's the fact that if you win that half-12 match, it will make your weekend. You'll go into it relaxed, feeling happy. It doesn't matter what your rivals do. You can go into it knowing you've done the best you can, and it doesn't really matter. You can enjoy the rest of the matches. And of course, before we finalize this show, we will talk about some of the rivals matches, which will be very, very interesting. So just looking quickly on here. I wonder if I can share my screen, in fact. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I think I can. Here we go. Look at that. Right, I hope you can all see this. Just let's quickly sure we are. I think we are. Right. If we aren't, just put a comment in the chat, and I will find out. But if you are able to see this, so tomorrow, City against Brighton. Obviously beating West Ham on Wednesday night actually put us within 7 points on Man City. And although the league table right now isn't important at all. Okay, good. It is working. Fantastic. So, yeah, the league table doesn't matter at all right now because of the fact that there's still so many matches to go, and it's something I don't really look at until 2/3 of the season, really, because that's when you know what you need from your rivals and what you need to hope that will happen so that you can catch up the point tally. But we are seven behind City, so the fact that we could go within 4, at least for a couple of hours or so, which will give us a lot of confidence. And against Brighton, who I think they will dismantle. There's just no doubt about it. City have had a week off because of their match that was postponed against Arsenal, which I'm quite disappointed about because that would have been a wonderful game. Obviously, the top 2, Arsenal would have had the chance to go 7 clear, and then on the flip side, City could have gone within 1 point. But Arsenal had to play a Europa League match, hence why their game was rearranged. But against Brighton, City will they're going to steamroll them. Funny enough, with Brighton, since they hired De Zerbi, they've had 4 matches, and he's also the first Brighton manager to have never won in his opening 4 fixtures, which is obviously a bit of a worry for them. But again, it's not really so surprised, and I think with Brighton, we all know what their nickname is, and it's not the Seagulls, it is XGFC. That is because, as we all know, they create so many chances, and they just don't take them away. It's as simple as that. And it was a case on Tuesday night. I think they had like 6 or 7 shots on goal and really good chances, but Henderson thwarted them on a lot of occasions. You can look to the fact that the keeper made good saves, but on the flip side, and as we know who Brighton are, you got to criticize them for not being more clinical. So I'm not expecting anything more than a City win. I think it'll be very comfortable 4 or 5-0. Again, with City having that week off, being refreshed, Haaland will feel, he'll want to end the 1-game drought, which is quite remarkable given obviously the standard he's already set. But I expect him to be fully firing. Foden as well. I think De Bruyne will be outstanding too. And then the big game on Saturday evening, Chelsea-Manchester United, one that is obviously far bigger for us, and a result where I think probably a draw will suit us best. Again, looking at the league table, if United were to get the draw, they would, and we were to win, they would go back a point above us again. But it's the fact that we will close the gap on Chelsea. Before Wednesday night, we were 6 points behind them, but now we'll have the chance to go within 3 or 4 of them, which should be very, very good. In fact, even right now, I think it's 4 points. So there you go. Excuse my maths, but it would be an even closer gap, which will be really, really good for us. But even if they were to win, I would not be disappointed at all, because obviously us being a Liverpool fan, we would never ever want United to win in any way, shape, or form. And it's obviously been a more turbulent last couple of days than they would have liked. I thought they were brilliant against Tottenham, and we should give them credit, even though we wouldn't like to. They were outstanding, absolutely dominated them. The scoreline would have been bigger had it not been for Hugo Lloris. I think he made a couple of really, really good saves. But sadly for them, they're now talking about this Ronaldo situation, leaving the pitch early on with a couple of minutes to play, not clapping the fans at all, even when he left the pitch early, and obviously not staying behind with his teammates, applauding them, congratulating them. And he's made it all about himself, which is a real disappointment. As much as I dislike Ronaldo because of who he plays for, I do have a tremendous amount of respect for him because of what he's done and who he is. But it's disappointing for Man United. I think they've handled that situation very, very well. The fact that they've kind of punished him, saying he's not going to be involved with the Chelsea match tomorrow, and he's not going to be even in the squad, which is a very good position from them, and something that you got to credit Ten Hag for, because no player is bigger than the club, as even if it's a Cristiano Ronaldo. And obviously, going back in history, we dealt something similar with Luis Suarez, I think back in 2013, when he tried to force that move to Arsenal, but we didn't allow the move. Then obviously he tried to go on strike, and we just completely excluded him from first team training. And in the end, he apologized, made up with his teammates, apologized to the club, and it was all forgiven. So unless Ronaldo does that, which I doubt he will, be given the size of his ego, that might be the last time we see Ronaldo at Old Trafford. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he'll be gone in January. So hopefully it'll be a good watch for that one. I would rather obviously Chelsea win than Manchester United, but I think for us it will be I think a draw would be the most ideal outcome. Then on Sunday, we got Villa-Brentford. It'll be interesting to see how Villa do, of course, post Steven Gerrard. Brentford, in a great run of form, did very well against Chelsea on Wednesday night. Kepa was unbelievable on that evening. And it's actually quite nice to just quickly back on Chelsea and Kepa. It's actually quite pleasing to see him really showing his form, because I think we forget he is the most expensive goalkeeper in history. He came in that same summer we brought in Alisson. Obviously, Ali cost us, I think, around 65 million, and Kepa cost, I think, just over 70. So it's good to see him showing that there was a reason why he cost that much, and why Athletic Bilbao put in that release clause. So a very good display from him in the last couple of occasions, and the reason why I think Brentford didn't really win against Chelsea on Wednesday night. So they'll, I think, be expected to win that game given the form. Fulham. Leeds a bit of a rough patch right now. They haven't won in 7. Jesse Marsch now looking like the next to potentially be relieved of his duties. But the board came out today saying that he'll be back for a little while longer, and I think he deserves to, because he's actually done an okay job, I feel. And obviously kept them in the Premier League last season. Then Southampton Arsenal. I think it should be more than a straightforward win for Arsenal. Another good win on Thursday night. In fact, just a quick note on Granit Xhaka. How the hell has he turned this around? I mean, the guy was booed off by his own fans. I think it was almost 3 years ago now. 3 years ago to the day where he was booed off in a 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace, and he didn't do much to help himself as well, throwing off the shirt, being stripped of the captaincy. But fair play to him, he's absolutely turned it around. Probably Arsenal's most important player this season. I'm not going to say he's their best player. I think their best player is obviously Jesus and or Saka, but the way Xhaka is, being that senior figure in the team, he's clearly having an influence on those younger players, and having a very, very, very good influence. So well done to him. And I think Arsenal, I would hope they would also win as well, just because, it's, for me, if we can't win it, it's anyone but City right now, just so we can have a different winner. And hopefully they'll do the job against Southampton on Sunday. And then Wolves-Leicester, Midlands derby there. Again, two teams under pressure. Leicester have turned the corner a little bit, at home especially. That's now 3 wins unbeaten at home, keeping clean sheets in all of them, which is very, very important. And winning 2-0. Plus, Maddison will be back for this game, which is a big boost for them. Hopefully, he'll be included for that World Cup squad because he deserves to be there, without a shadow of a doubt. And then Wolves still looking for a new manager. Then, lastly, on Sunday, Spurs Newcastle. Again, two teams who are close rivals to us in terms of points. Newcastle 2 points and 1 place above us. Brilliant team. There's no doubt about how well Eddie Howe has done since he's taken charge of that club. You know, given where they were a year ago, where this was the time roughly when he took over from Steve Bruce. He's been absolutely brilliant for them, the way he's coached those players. And I know there's obviously the narrative that they have spent money, which they have. There's no doubt about it. But the likes of not Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, I think if there was an award for most improved player, it would probably go to him. Miguel Almiron, who I think we're all very pleased to see how well he's doing after the comments Jack Grealish made about him when he was absolutely off his face in that trophy parade after City won the title last season. But to see Almiron doing so well, scoring his 5th goal of the season last time out. That's now his best ever return, and the quality of goals as well. You know, that strike on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whenever it was unbelievable. You know, to put it in that top corner. And I know Pickford isn't the biggest of goalkeepers, but Pickford is still very, very good, as we saw when he played against us, the amount of saves he can make, no matter how high the ball is. So a brilliant goal from Almiron. Great to see him. And again, someone that Eddie Howe has improved drastically. And some others there as well. Dan Burn, a really, really solid player. Sven Botman, great acquisition there. Kieran Trippier, really astute signing. And then you look at the quality they do have. Guimaraes, who I'm amazed more clubs didn't go for him in January. Us, obviously, he would have been the most ideal player for us. Man City would have been a great option for them too. And there's been a lot of rumors linking him to Real Madrid, so that shows how good he is. You know, being linked to the biggest or one of the biggest clubs in the world. So a lot of quality there, and more importantly, even though they got injuries right now, I think Isak is out and he's not going to be available for a while. So Maximin has been in and out for the last couple of weeks, but they're so hard to break down. They're so hard to beat. And just looking at the league table here, they've lost once, and that was, again, very, very unlucky against us when Carvalho got that 98th minute winner. Defensively as well, the best in the league, only conceded 9 goals. And again, unsurprisingly, with Nick Pope in goal, Trippier at the back, and then Botman and Schär and Dan Burn, Matt Target, who I think is also a very decent left back in and around the squad. So it'll be a very interesting game there. Tottenham, again, not been great. I really expected them to challenge for the title this season, given how they ended last campaign and the fact that they made a lot of, on paper at least, good additions by the likes of Basuma, Ivan Perisic, I thought was an astute signing, Richarlison, and Jed Spence, Clement Longley, but it's just not worked together. It's not come to fruition so far. I do expect Spurs to win this match because they usually do bounce back, which is credit to them, which is obviously a big thing that's changed since Conte has come in charge. But it will be far from an easy win, and I think Spurs will just about win, but it'll be a very narrow 1-0 or 2-1. And even then, that's more of a guess than an expectation. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Newcastle went there and even won, in fact, because they have enough quality even without some of their big hitters playing. But the fact that they're so good defensively makes you think that they could do a job. So yeah, that's in terms of the opposition this weekend. West Ham, Bournemouth on Monday night, two teams who, I'm not going to be talking about too much, but I think West Ham will bounce back with the quality that they have, and they'll want to show that they are still riding a good wave, even though they lost against us last time out. So hopefully it will be a good weekend of action. It will be another 3 points for us, which is something that we really need. I think at this stage right now, for the next four weeks, I think there is left until the World Cup breaks. So after we play this weekend, we got Leeds after that, then Spurs, which will be a very, very tough game. Southampton, and then that is it. So there's only 4 matches left before the World Cup breaks. Hopefully we'll get 4 wins and we'll be in a much healthier position in the league table. Then once that is over, we can look forward to the World Cup. And for us, behind the scenes, hopefully we will get some business done. So anyways, that is all we got for today. I hope you will enjoy this latest show. We will, again, be back early next week to review the hopeful victory we would have received tomorrow afternoon and preview the Champions League match against Ajax next week, where I think we're going to need a point to officially confirm our qualification. So anyways, that is all for today. Hope you will enjoy this show, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.